going on, y'all? Hey. So welcome back, everyone, to Revolt and Vice's Juneteenth special right here from the gathering spot in Atlanta. My name is Dexter Thomas from Vice News. So now, Juneteenth is all about us celebrating our freedom. The freedom at the ballot box is one enormous hurdle that our people have faced throughout history, and it still persists today. Let's take a look.
This bill will establish a simple, uniform standard which cannot be used, however ingenious the effort to flout our Constitution.
A lot of people expected the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to do what it promised, to protect the voting rights of everyone.
Polling places were swamped by both Negro and white voters.
But after history was made in 2008, and again in 2012, that promise became less of a guarantee. In 2013, the Supreme Court declared parts of the act unconstitutional and allowed local governments to change voting laws without federal permission. And right before the 2016 election, this happened.
We're not going to lose. The only way we can lose, in my opinion, I really mean this, Pennsylvania, is if cheating goes on.
Trump ended up losing the popular vote. But of course, that didn't matter. There was no evidence of voter fraud. But that didn't stop Trump from claiming that there was, or his base from believing it, which all leads us to this point. Despite the pandemic, Biden supporters voted in historic numbers, flipping red states blue. And now, lawmakers in 48 states are introducing bills that would make it harder to vote. But just like in the 2020 election, in this fight over voter rights, all eyes are on the South once again, particularly Texas, where the state legislature is considering a long list of new restrictions, including banning ballot drop boxes in drive-through voting centers, prohibiting after-hours voting, limiting early Sunday voting, and making absentee ballots harder to obtain. And if anyone doesn't follow these strict rules, they could be forced to pay fines or face other penalties.
So my determination in fighting voter suppression definitely stems from understanding my history. My name is Jasmine Crockett. I am the state representative for House District 100. When I'm not acting as the state rep, I'm usually working as a criminal defense and civil rights attorney.
Does somebody have to die before we get rid of a bad officer? That should not be the standard, and that is the problem.
I am the only Black freshman in the Texas House. I am only the 22nd Black woman to be elected to the Texas House. I am the youngest elected official in the state of Texas. Hi. Yes, that's me. I came here to legislate. It just so happens that I'm Black. In the state of Texas, we have more African Americans than any other state, and we're continuing to grow that population. And I think that that's yet another reason that voices like mine needed to be here writing the laws.
And instead of us doing something to protect people in this state, we decide to punish people who are already suffering. That is what's wrong in this house.
Voting gives us our voice. In 2020, we saw a record number of voters. The reality is that the numbers were so tight this last time. It was somewhere between 5 and 6 points in this state. But the majority of this state is Black and brown. What does that mean? We know that the majority of Black and brown people vote democratically. The Republican Party is shifting in the wrong direction. They are trying to turn our government into anything but a democracy. And that is a problem. Democracy is only good so long as they retain power. Once they lose their power, then they want to get rid of democracy and do something different. And it's sad. I thought that once we ridded ourselves of the cancer known as Trump, we would be okay. But we're not. He still lingers in the hallways of so many of these legislative bodies, including the hallways here in the state of Texas. 48 states are trying to enact laws that will suppress the vote. And what that means is that we've got to fight back even harder. SB 7 here in the state of Texas, in my opinion, it was a life-threatening bill. So since we walked out of the chamber on SB 7, what I've seen is, number one, the bill died. And that was a huge win for us. Number two, there is a shift in the attitude of the Republicans. They don't really know what we're willing to do, how far we're willing to go. They don't know if we will continue to break quorum. And so therefore, they will have to enter into good faith negotiations if there's going to be a new voter bill this session. Democrats on a national scale have to work together. We've got to apply pressure to the US Senate and send them a message. If you don't pass what we need to back us up, then maybe we need to find new US senators that will back us up. If I were to be speaking to Black people specifically, what I would say is that you can't let them see you sweat. I won my race by 90 votes. It was the closest primary in the state of Texas for the state house. And it was Black people that pushed me over. It was young people that pushed me over. I am only here because of them. And so you've got to believe that every single vote will count. I don't see that hate in the next generation. They are my hope, they are the future, and I'm praying that they can get us on track, because the current generation is doing everything that they can to keep us off track.
Now we're going to keep that mood moving forward with a conversation here of our own. So joining us here today are some of the most influential people out the next generation, out there making waves. First, we have co-founder of Freedom March NYC, Nialah Edari, joining us in studio. Come on up. Good to have you here.
Hey.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good, tired. Tomorrow's Juneteenth. Just been organizing and excited and happy to be here with you all.
Out there doing the work. I see it. I see it. So also joining us by video is recording artist Kiana Lede and rapper G Herbo. Thanks for joining us, y'all.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Kiana, I want to throw this to you. Just so in the segment that we just saw, right, we saw the representative say that she won her race by 90 votes, which, I mean, is so slim, and it shows really the urgency here, right? And as she said, you know, a lot of those votes definitely, she says, come from, you know, young Black voters, right? And that urgency that I heard in her voice is something that I saw from you also last year, when you said something that I don't think we often hear musicians say, right? That voting is more important than music right now. What made you put it out there like that?
I mean, I really feel that so deeply. Music inspires change. And to make change, we have to take action. So music could inform us, music could be a timestamp, but the action that we need to take includes something like voting. And I just thought, you know, it's always more important than singing a song.
Did you have anybody looking at you saying that and say, wait, really? Please sing for me. Why are you getting political on me?
Yeah, of course, but I've always been a very political person. I stand up for what I believe in, and that's that.
I dig that. So I want to go to you next, Nialah. I mean, at this point, it's been a little bit over a year, right? Since you decided, you know what, right after the murder of George Floyd, you really need to get out into the streets, right, on the front lines. And since then, I mean, I don't want to say we've seen justice, but we've seen some kind of accountability, perhaps, right? And perhaps we've seen some progress. But as we just saw in this segment, you know, we've also seen, you know, in almost every state, there's some kind of attempt right now to make it harder to vote, right? And we know these attempts to make it more difficult to vote, these affect Black people, these affect brown people, these affect the poor, right? These affect the very people who you were out there really making sure that their voices would be able to be heard. So, I mean, how do you, when you're watching things and you've seen the progress that's being made and you see the attempt to roll that back, how do you avoid from falling into that feeling where, man, are we actually going to make it?
I just understanding that it's not a race, it's a marathon, and oftentimes we'll feel like we're taking 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, but just keep pushing and keep working. So something that we do at Freedom March NYC is we may not have as many people, we may not have as much resources, but out-organize the enemy. And I believe that's what they were doing in Georgia, and the reason why Georgia turned blue and why Biden is president and not Donald Trump. So just out organizing. It sucks when you're working and you don't get the results that you want, but you just keep pushing. And that's something that we do and encourage, is to keep pushing.
Do you ever have conversations with, fellow organizers where, at some point you have to start feeling tired and just feeling discouraged? How do you push through that?
Well, first of all, you can't do your best work if you don't bring your best self forward. So we always push taking care of yourself, self-care. If you need a moment, if you have to check out, to do that, because you can't just be down and out on the front lines.
Right.
We need to be energized and ready to keep it moving. So whenever you need to check out, you need to take some time to take care of yourself, do that.
That sounds to me like you're talking about a topic that I feel like is perfect to pose to G Herbo, right? Over the course of your career, especially recently, I've seen, just the development and a lot of the things you've been talking about, right? And especially, talking about PTSD. How did you decide, this is my lane? This is something I'm going to talk about? Because this is something that people weren't familiar with you talking about from the very early days of your career, right?
Yeah. It's more so about, like Trey said a little earlier, it's just about having knowledge, what I'm saying, and understanding the platform that you have and the way to use it. I'm able to just speak my truth and talk about the things that I've been through and the things important to me to help, to give back.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
It's like a
I hear it. So look, one thing that we've, definitely been seeing recently is that politicians are getting younger and younger, right? And I think all three of you have something in common in that you are, the young voices of really this next generation, right? And so, but in that same lane, you're also seeing the older generations having to kind of take your lead and listen to you. So I want to throw this to you. How does it feel to be out there and realizing that there are people who are older than you looking to you for leadership?
I feel honored. I always respect my ancestors and those who came before me and those who are willing to take me under their wing and drop some gems. I also believe that, we're next up. It's our time. I'm a part of an organization called Next 50, which focuses on electing young people in all 50 states and getting more young people in office. And I don't just want to push to have a seat at the table. I want to, be the table, have young people all around the table and not just one voice.
Kiana, you look like you wanted to say something. Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's only fair that older people make space for younger people, because it is going to be our future and one day our present.
Gotcha. And Herbo, I definitely heard you saying something. We just heard from a second ago from Trey the Truth, right? And y'all are kind of next up, right?
We need people like Trey, who reach out, to the younger generation, for them to use, that they influence their platform, because a lot of times, kids, and I was one of those kids that just thought I knew everything and wasn't really listening to somebody who I looked up to in a way, So for the older generation to reach back and use us as a vessel, in a sense, it's always the right thing to do, I feel like. And Trey, one of those guys who just always been front line. That's why I commend him on everything he do. On any problem, he don't mind getting on the plane or whatever. In any way he could, help out, he do that. And he look to us, to the younger generation, to use our platform in any way possible. Even if we don't have the knowledge, he don't mind giving us the knowledge of something that we may learn or may want to learn to do to help. So it's important for sure.
Gotcha. So with that being said, Nialah, Kiana, G Herbo, we thank you for joining us and appreciate all the work you're doing. Round of applause for everybody, please.